Yeah, so what I wanted to say was we got our natural gas bill in December, and this thing, like, my wife immediately called and was like, "What in the hell is going on here?" Like, it jumped up. I believe we were like around $100, something like that. Kind of generalizing. I don't know for sure because she takes care of those things, but it literally jumped up to like $250, like 275, something like that. I kind of hit the roof. I do heat my house with natural gas, and I heat my hot water heater using natural gas. And I'd kind of settled in. I was like, man, I work long hours. I want to enjoy a bath every now and then. I want a hot bath, and I believe I deserve that. And I want them to be comfortable in the house. Set the thermostat at what you will. Please don't jack it up and down a whole lot. We know how that causes. Um, but since then, uh, I went to the hot water heater, went ABC, went way back down to B. I put our thermostat on 72 degrees and, put a piece of tape over it and said, everybody, you need to leave it alone. I'm that old guy now, the thermostat guy. Hey, stay off of my thermostat and this and that. I haven't seen what the new bill's going to be, but, it reminded me of, you know, a few years back whenever we couldn't keep up with electricity, ERCOT, and all of those sorts of things. There were people that were, like freezing to death and all of
Oh, you
that.
talking about when the power went out?
Yeah.
Because Texas isn't part of the national grid?
Right. We're on our independent thing. But, natural gas is, a byproduct of the oil field. And I don't know exactly where that is. I follow Mr. Global. I'm all about Mr. Global. And he talks about how, that's a byproduct of, oil drilling and things like that, and how one's going to make the other one go up and stable out, and never how it does. Um, my wife called our carrier, and she's like, "What is going on here?" And they showed us where last year a graph where basically it went up to the kind of the same thing as far as our usage and this and that. Now, we're coming into, winter here in Texas. Of course, we don't get winter until nearly the first of the year, or, every other day in any month you pick, whatever. But it just kind of floored me now how much we were just, I don't want to use the term gouge because I'm sure they have some certain way around it, but the natural gas just went through the roof. And, it's something I kind of wanted to talk about. I don't know if.
Well, I mean, I have it
Why?
under good authority that we're winning. We're tired of winning. But I do want to jump in when I first brought this up because I want to talk about Louisiana. Late last year, according to this report, the energy prices in Louisiana went up 29%. Just winning. And I just heard about a bill that is being introduced that even if you insulate your house better, you get Energy Star appliances, and you actually use less energy, be it gas or electricity, you still have to pay your provider for the services that you used to use.
Okay, so
Like if you use less, your bill is still the same.
right. No, I think I saw
You
a
have
thing
to
on
compensate
this.
them for their loss of
So we're
profits.
becoming, so efficient now that they're basically wanting to go back and bill you for their loss
Profits.
of profits for their shareholders. I've seen something like this, and that was Louisiana. You said,
Yes.
or is it just in general?
In
one
Louisiana.
company,
This is
or-
a bill they're working
Yeah.
on in Louisiana where you still have to compensate the power companies for the power you're not using.
That's wild. Well, I can't tell you that, my house is just super energy efficient. I don't have the luxury of buying new windows and all of that stuff. But
Well, just like years ago when people started getting more and more solar panels in their house and using less and less electricity to the point that some people were actually generating more electricity than what they were using. Now, back in the day, power company had to pay you because you're putting that into the grid.
Right.
And state after state after state passed laws where they don't have to pay you for the energy you're providing them. And they even have it where you still have to have services through them. You still have to pay them for this, that, and the other thing. And you're the one powering the grid. But at no point in time do they have to pay you. And in many states, it's actually illegal to be completely off grid.
Because you're bankrupting them.
You can't be
You're basically hurting
you
their
cannot be self-sufficient. It's not like you can have a homestead out somewhere where you have a septic tank and well water and solar panels to cover all of your needs. That is a crime now. Welcome to America.
Well, I mean, where's the small government in this?
No, there's no small government involved in it. It's the big government.
Exactly.
Winning.
So, you see what I'm saying? Now, when we started talking about that, I brought up that. And whenever you started talking about them having to make up their dividends, basically, for them, wasn't there a thing? I don't know if it was I don't know if it was Obama or Biden, but basically one of the blue states did something of the sort with electric cars. They wanted to put like a monitor or a meter on your car, and instead of taxing the gas or whatever, where they got that revenue. Yeah, they wanted to actually, get your title and registration.
See, that was, I believe it was California, because they do tax the price of gasoline to help fund paving of roads and stuff like that. And if you go from gas car to electric car, they're no longer getting that tax revenue.
Right.
So they were trying to figure out how to keep up with that revenue because, again, you still have to pay for the roads and everything. One downside to them charging you by the miles that you drive is how are they going to prove that those miles are driven in the state? Imagine if you go out on a road trip and you drive from California to New York. All that trip after you leave the state line to New York and back, those are miles you're putting on your car that they're potentially going to tax you for that you weren't driving in their state. So there's a lot of issues with how they're going to get funding for that.
Well, I mean, it's sort of a point. I don't really look at it that way. I look at it that if you registered the car there, you're going to be responsible for whatever those miles are. Do I agree with it? Absolutely not. I don't agree with any of that. My thing is if we're supposed to be looking at conservatism and we're supposed to be looking at the Republican way, we should be the party of small government, right? So where is the small government there? Like you said, that's big government.
Well,
that's
if you want to go down that rabbit hole, I'm going to challenge you on this. Name a single Republican president that did not grow the government.
Oh, no, I can't. It's politics, period. I'm just saying that this adage that, true conservatives should, and I would love for them to stick to, I keep waiting on them to pull me over there. Because I'm way that way. I'm not really with big government, but I'm like, hey, if you're going to go ahead and tax us, I want you to use it this way. That's what makes me democratic right now. But here's the thing. If you're really going to do small government, let's do small government and we'll all get on board, but really do it. And that whole thing, whereas I should be rewarded for trying to go green. I should be rewarded for trying to do something that causes, less footprint and all that by design. Now we can argue.
Well, dude, it was a mantra back in the 90s of reduce, reuse, recycle. Right. And now if you reduce, you're still being fined or charged for not using.
Because we're so behind these corporations and we're so behind, these entities that, like you said, they're losing money. So it's like, hey, you know what? You're hitting my bottom line, so I'm just going to go ahead and charge you for it because what are you going to do?
Well, another thing that's crazy along those lines is like when he first took office in his second term, he tried to claim that it's a felony to not buy Tesla products.
Who, Trump?
Yes. Remember when people started to protest Tesla and like, how exactly are you going to throw me in prison for not going and buying his products that he sells?
Right. Well, I mean, that's just more propaganda. Someone
There was some
bought it.
crappy he just spewed out of his mouth, but at the same
Right.
time, you have to think about the mindset of that kind of person. But people really are being charged for not using its service is not rendered.
Right. Well, apparently I'm using a whole lot, and I'm really trying to get that down. I'm actually, jacked all of my stuff down because this is just ridiculous here in Texas. We are one of the largest energy producing states, and I know that we produce an unreal amount of natural gas as we do oil. Um, we can argue how gas and oil has went down and all of that, but I think gas has got to the point now where they're doing layoffs in Midland, Odessa, and I'd love for us to get into that one.
Look, I can throw back to a rant that I had last year in one of our podcasts when I was going on and on and on about shareholders,
right,
and how they're constantly having to increase profits and increase profitability and make more and more and more and more and more money for these shareholders. And me personally, when I think about how they're trying to make folks continue to pay for services that's not being rendered onto them, that's just them trying to get more money for their shareholders.
That's just some CEO that got creative in his thinking there,
and he's got political buddies,
and that's what I was going to say. And lobbied and paid, lobbied and got some sort of Congress to get in there and get on board with that. So,
but the thing with capitalism, though, it's supposed to be, buy and sell, market values, and everything like that. And now it's just give us all your fucking money. Give us your fucking money now. It's no longer about consumerism. It's no longer about buying stuff. It's just about stealing your fucking money.
Right. And I think, it's kind of a transition over into that because
it's late stage capitalism.
Right. And I like to use that term a lot because we're there. We are there. You've heard Bernie for the last 1.5 million years talk about how the top 2% in the country own over X percent of whatever.
Yeah, Bernie and his numbers, man. You got to love it.
Yeah, you got to love it. But, he's never got anything done with it. I love Bernie to death. I wish someone would actually enact some of the things that he bitches about all the time. I did see a quote the other day that said, "There's nothing bad that happens in our country that Bernie did not already talk against at some point of his career." So, I think there's something to that. But yeah, late stage capitalism, and I agree with Bernie there, where we're at that point. And, when we all started griping about the big, beautiful bill, which is coming into play by now, we all started talking about how we're giving more to the rich. Now, a lot of people will make that point. They're like, okay, well, the billionaires, and those are the ones who create jobs for us. So they deserve that and they deserve this. But what people don't understand is these people did not get rich by giving that money back to anything. All they did was borrow against it. They invested it and built more and more and more and collected more and more and more. And the whole pie is there. We've got this little slice that millions of us are sharing off of at this point. But here's the thing. When I start talking about late stage capitalism, well, then all of a sudden I just get called a socialist and a communist and all of these other things, because apparently I just think that we need a, universal paycheck for everyone. And I'm very much a capitalist.
We just got done discussing Louisiana power companies getting their universal paycheck.
Exactly. And you're right. And
why is it that the rich can get their money for free? They get theirs no matter what. No matter how much energy I use, they still get their paycheck.
Right. And so, there comes a time, that, the people that love to talk about socialism, one of the talking points is the bread lines. And I just want everyone to remember that both capitalism and socialism does end in bread lines. They both do.
Hey, remember during the shutdown where our military troops were in bread lines?
Yes.
Boom. Let's segue into this. Now, just a moment ago, you mentioned a big, beautiful bill.
I
All
did.
right. Part of that big, beautiful bill was completely screwing us out of our health care. And, of course, they didn't pass a budget because they wanted to fund Medicare and Medicaid. And we got screwed on that because we always do get screwed. Now there's a new bill. Now, it's already passed the House. It's supposed to be going to the Senate. And I believe the name is H.R. 1, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act OBBA. And this is for rural healthcare uh, transformation program. It is a bill to provide $50 billion over 5 years to fund rural hospitals.
Okay.
Didn't we just have a government shutdown for this?
Well, we did, but they tried to kick it back, down.
Right, and now we have to
they're
have a completely separate bill in order to fund part of this program?
well, I mean, you kind of sprung that on me. I just know that right now, in the news that there is a bill to pretty much defund ICE, and that's got all of MAGA in a tizzy. And Democrats are apparently on this shutdown going to, hold everything up because we're trying to defund ICE. And this bill here, I didn't know that there was some kind of subsidy that had to be, provided to do that. So it doesn't surprise me.
Well, like hospitals that you and I have access to, they're in areas that are big enough where they get enough patients coming in and they can sustain themselves. Rural hospitals don't. They don't have that many patients coming in.
And not currently in the town we're actually shooting from. Right. That is one of the hospitals is actually going to, and it has been struggling through the years.
Well, I was referring to places like not too far from where I used to live, where you could pretty much put the entire town in a large van. Oh, but there's still a hospital out there because of geographical location.
Right.
Now, it would still be, 45-minute drive to get to the hospital, but it's better than like 2 hours to go into town.
Right. Exactly.
But those are the hospitals that they were worried about shutting down. They wanted to get funding for.
So now that funding, was it one of those things where it goes through insurance, or is this something that is directly funded to those hospitals, or something that they sign up for and get some sort of subsidy? Do you know that?
That one I'm not 100% sure on. I'm still looking through all the different news reportings on it, and there's a lot of different opinions on here. But I did want to, since you mentioned it, I want to talk about the whole defunding of ICE. Not necessarily defunding of ICE, but so the ICE agents are getting this big ass bonus, right? The sign-on bonus.
Yeah, but I think
there's
the caveat here is that they have to be with them for like 5 years.
It's $10,000 a year over 5 years, but if you don't complete the 5 years, you have to repay it back.
Okay.
Now, people are pointing out Trump's term is only going to be for 4 years. Now, what's to stop the next guy from coming in and saying, hey, the 80,000 of you that he hired, you're all fired for cause. They all have to pay back that money. And I would love to see them brought up on RICO charges.
Well, no, I mean, that's exactly what I want to see.
But seriously, think about that, though. If you can manage to... Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to cast a wide net. There's probably several of them that have done nothing wrong. Several of them that are working at the administrative level. But there's a lot of bad eggs in that basket.
Right. No, ICE is needed.
Can you imagine having such a large group of people being brought up and every one of them charged for the crimes that the other one had committed?
Oh, in the RICO you're talking about. Yeah, that would. Oh, that's pretty heavy. I mean,
you'll never see the outside of a prison again.
They might need to be thinking about
because
like
already I have two different sources. One says that since Trump took office, one source says that they have killed 33 Americans, and another one said that they had killed 52 Americans.
Okay.
Illegals have only killed 9, but
well, since when?
Since he took office.
Okay, so since we'd like to use this talking point of we're getting dangerous people off the street, that's what you're saying. Well, these are the dangerous people. This grandma that walked out that they got pinned against
the dangerous ones are wearing the uniforms.
Well, yes, from our perspective, because a lot of them are. a lot. I don't know what the vetting is there, but didn't you
Virtually none.
say there was like a video of one of them detaining someone, and they zoomed in on the guy's hand, and he literally had the
The,
MS-13 that
well,
Abrego Garcia
he had
has.
he had the Abrego Garcia tattoos on his knuckles,
Yeah.
and then the TikToker said, "See, I can add MS-13 and then drew
Oh,
MS-13 on
okay.
his
So that was
knuckles."
just an imposed thing.
Well,
Okay.
the MS-13 was imposed. Trump actually believed that was real because I can
No, I remember that. I'm talking about.
cut away to the interview of him fighting
Okay, so
O'Reilly.
it wasn't actually an ICE agent that did have.
Yes, it was an ICE agent who
Oh,
had the pot leaf, the skull,
yeah.
and the shit on his
So for
knuckles.
real, he had that.
He had those tattoos,
Oh my
yes.
gosh. So, and then I saw one yesterday. Now, again, this could be mainstream media. This could be AI. The image didn't look AI, but I think we're kind of getting to where we may not know the difference nowadays. But he had the two lightning bolts behind his ear, and like literally, and it wasn't just broadcasted. It was a struggle, and they were taking someone down and
Yeah.
this and that, and someone did a steal and saw the two lightning bolts behind his
There's
ear.
one. There's so many of them where you can actually see some of them a whole swastika, but then you see the one where it's the top part where it comes up and then does the 90-degree turn. They're barely covering this shit up.
Right, but in what government agency
They're
is that
not. They're
okay?
not vetting these people. There was one woman. She just did a presser where she signed up for ICE, and she is an absolute outspoken anti-ICE, anti-Trump. It's like no one else has my name. I'm easily Googleable. You could have figured out who I am, and she still passed the vetting process. Do you know their training is only 47 days, and you can guess why
Oh yeah,
it's 47?
I mean I get
The
it.
fucking ego along with that. They're talking about how such a large percentage of them can't read or write.
Wow.
It's absolutely
Well, I would
insane.
imagine their reporting is pretty remedial, which is not, becoming of one of our government agents. That's the thing. You saw my
You're
short.
supposed to be a federal employee. You're supposed
Right.
to be held to a certain standard, but no.
Thank you. And you saw my short on, initially when the woman was killed in Minneapolis. And, everyone has their opinion. They, let me give a liberal spin to it. They didn't immediately, a few days later, they come back and said the guy has internal bruising now,
Internal bleeding.
internal bleeding. Now, you saw people say, oh, well, that's literally a bruise and this and this and that. But you see how the media immediately spun the other way. I think there was influence there as far as where they were going with that and how that needed to go because, there's a lot of arguments. There's a lot of, opinions on whether she used the vehicle, whether he was justified in whatever.
First off, she wasn't aiming for him at all.
Right.
She wasn't even looking at him. What it was is the other officer, ICE agent, who doesn't have the authority to conduct traffic stops, came run up and said, "You know what? Get out of the car."
Yanking on the door handle, too.
Right. And then that's her driving off because she's now being attacked unlawfully.
Right.
And
So one
that's
can
something else that
say,
people don't understand is these cocksuckers are out here literally conducting traffic stops, pulling people over. They don't have the authority to do that.
right. And
You're not a police officer.
right. There's plenty of arguments as far as that's concerned. But I wanted to point out the fact that immediately that narrative was spun back the other way. And really, let's just get all those semantics out
And
of
now
the
they're
way.
saying he miscarried. I can send you all that shit.
Let's just get all the
He lost the
semantics
baby
out of
because
the way. Here's the thing. In the use of force, like continuum, once the threat is neutralized, what are you supposed to do? You see what I'm saying? You're not supposed to step back
an issue caused by them.
and double tap their brain. So my thing is whatever argument, and I know we got into the Minneapolis thing,
Right.
but I wanted to throw in that it doesn't matter if this guy was completely in the right. It doesn't matter if she was completely in the wrong. Two things can be true at once, okay? If she was wrong, she was wrong. Okay. But stepping back, once you neutralize the target and stepping back and doing two more kill shots just to make sure.
She was shot 4 times, by the way.
Okay. And it's overkill. It's excessive force. It's excessive deadly force is what it is. So if she's wrong, okay, she was wrong. But it's okay that it's not okay. Sorry to even use that terminology. I'm so sorry talking about dead people. But if she is found guilty of whatever they say, he can still be in the wrong by using excessive force in that way. And this is one thing that we saw. We saw a bunch of AI stuff about her record. This lady has 2 traffic tickets on record. She doesn't have all of this child abuse and all of these sorts of things.
A member of the Trump administration said that she went to anti-ICE training or some bullshit. That she went to a facility and got trained to kill ICE officers.
To kill?
Yes.
I mean, I did hear she was
No
like
proof,
some kind of agitator, and she loved to get.
It doesn't matter. You can
right.
Free speech. But the fact that they're actually going out and saying that she
Right.
went and sought out training with no proof, no evidence, no nothing.
But this is.
And how the fuck? What kind of training is that when you literally try to wave them off so you can drive away?
Right. And this is the dead. You see what I'm saying? And it's just so much to spin it politically. I saw it from both sides because immediately, everyone had their angle. And that's why on the short that I made, I was like, hey, does your beliefs affect you in what you're seeing right here? Because regardless of your beliefs, the 2 other shots in the side of the window factually were not necessary. And it was excessive, and it was against any training that any government official, officer, anyone does. I mean, against any DOJ policy, all of those things, So, where did we start there? I know we ended up getting into Minneapolis.
Louisiana. Well, you were complaining about your gas bill.
Right. Oh, we're still on that. So, yeah, and, I want to talk about the big, beautiful bill. And let's do that in the next segment.